younger generation giving. What about baby boomers and older folks? What should we be doing for this country?
Oh, I think there are obviously organizations that we have in place for ability to serve, but we ought to really probably do a more and more effective job of utilizing the talents and experience of people who have had very successful lives and careers and continue to motivate them to serve. I think that's part of the proposals that have been made, and we do have the Senior Corps and other organizations, but the fact is that people are living longer and they're more active and vigorous, and I'm here to tell you that's a fact. And and so, Judy, I really believe that that is one of the underutilized aspects of community service in America, and I think that would be one of the areas of emphasis, really.
If I could just quickly follow up, I asked partly because we got a number of online questions. Sure. And a woman named Giselle from Brooklyn, New York, she says, with the staggering economy, how can people commit time to community service and still make ends meet? I know you said earlier, people of all income brackets, but what about those people who really do have to work to make
our economy is broken. People are sitting around not worrying about volunteering, but staying in their homes, keeping their job, affording to fill up their gas tank. We know that. Americans are hurting very badly. We got to reform government. We got to fix the economy. We got to create jobs. But right now, we have to restore trust and confidence in government. If people don't trust the government, then they're not going to be as eager and willing to, frankly, be part of these programs that we are proposing and that we are hoping that people will volunteer and serve in. So obviously, we have to fix our economy and get it going again and create jobs for Americans. But I think honestly, that there are also Americans who are willing to volunteer their services no matter what. But when people have a reasonable income and reasonable future, obviously they're going to volunteer more.
Let's talk about some folks who don't trust us, and that's a lot of countries overseas. You've talked about expanding the Peace Corps. You've also said we shouldn't be sending money to countries that don't like us. But should we be sending people, sending members of the Peace Corps to countries that don't like us to help our esteem in the world, which, of course, has suffered since 9/11?
Yes, and that's the best thing we can do is expose the people in these countries to the things we value, the things we stand for, the things we believe in, and there's no better representative of all that than Americans. But also I want to add, let's also have more people come here and be educated and trained and be exposed to the United States of America. We have found throughout the world people that come and get educated here and return to the countries they came from as leaders. It's amazing, and it establishes a base relationship that I think can also change the policies of a number of these countries that don't like us very much.
Would you give a green card to everybody, every foreign national who graduates with a PhD in the sciences to stay in America?
I certainly would do everything I can to keep those people in this country. I don't know if it would be an automatic green card, but I guarantee you that we'd love to have so many of these highly trained people stay in this country, and ask any corporate executive in America, particularly those in the information technology business.
Senator, I want to come back to something you said earlier. I think you used the word exceptional and unique about being an American. On this 9/11, this special day, help us understand what you think it means to be an American. And I don't mean that in the obvious way. I mean, people who live in Canada, who live in Mexico, and around the world feel special about their country. So what is it that's different about being an American? Are Americans better than people in some of these other countries? We hear the term exceptionalism about
I do believe in American exceptionalism, and I think it was best articulated by our founding fathers. But I also think that my hero, Teddy Roosevelt, expressed it very well, and other leaders throughout our history. We are the only nation I know in the world that really is deeply concerned about adhering to the principle that all of us are created equal and endowed by our creators with certain rights. And those we have tried to bring to the world. And we have not so much militarily, but through example, through leadership, through economic assistance. Look at what we did for Europe after World War II. Look at the continuous efforts we make throughout the world. Look at the efforts we're making to combat HIV/AIDS in Africa. There's a lot more America can do. And I love these other countries, and I'm not trying to denigrate them, but I know of no other country in the world with a generosity of spirit and the concern for fellow human beings than the United States of America, and I think that goes back to our very beginnings.
Does that make America better than these other
I think it makes us exceptional. I think it makes us exceptional in the kind of citizenry we have and the kind of service and sacrifice that we are capable of. And I mean that in no disrespect to any other nation, our close and unique relationship with the British. I'm not trying to in any way denigrate any other nation, but it doesn't in any way diminish my pride in the history of this nation, which has literally shed our blood in all four corners of the earth many times in defense of someone else's freedom, and have tried to further the principles of freedom and democracy everywhere in the world. I think we're dedicated to that proposition, and frankly, I think we've done a pretty good job.
Now let's talk about the framers for a second, because one of the things that they distrusted and disliked, they called it faction, which they meant political parties. The framers didn't want to have political parties. George Washington hated the idea of political parties. But now we're in the midst of a campaign between two parties, and the tone of the campaign has gotten pretty ugly. You've talked from the beginning about running a different kind of campaign, so has Senator Obama. You've both talked about a high-minded campaign. What does this do to people who are interested in public service? I mean, there are lots of people who think, man, I can't run for office when this kind of thing is happening. What does that do to we're here for service, and what does that campaign tell us about that?
First of all, I've said repeatedly, I think Senator Obama has inspired millions of Americans who otherwise wouldn't have been involved in the political process. That's just a fact. And I believe that my record of service and my vision for the future has attracted people. I think you're going to see the biggest voter turnout in history in this election. Has it been rough? Of course. And again, it isn't the final recipe or the only answer, but I think Americans would be helped enormously if we stood on this stage together tonight and talked about national service, all four of us, rather than three and one going on and then the other. And again, I hope that Senator Obama will accept my request. Let's go around America. Let's listen to the hopes and dreams and aspirations of the American people and respond to them. I think that's the best and most effective way of getting everybody involved in this campaign.
Do you think it's naive of people to expect that politics could be a little less rough and tumble and even nasty?
Look, the people make the final judgment with their votes. They make the final judgment about campaigns and how we present ourselves to the American people, and I think that will be the ultimate test of what kind of campaigns we run. I, again, think that it's very important that we focus on issues, we focus on challenges that America faces today, both domestically and national security-wise, and I intend to do that. And there's 54 more days left. Who's counting?
By 2042, the United States of America will no longer be a majority white nation. Robert Putnam, the sociologist, has written about how in communities that are diverse, there's actually less social capital, less trust. What can national service do to knit up America? And I'm sorry, we only have 1 minute left for such a complicated question.
National service can do a great deal. National service can unite us, just as the military unite us as we meet people from and interface with people from all over the world. But also let me say, look, the greatest thing that makes America exceptional is we have had wave after wave of people come to this country for the same reason. They wanted to build a better life, they wanted freedom, and they wanted to be part of America. So I don't accept that premise that somehow some of the most patriotic Americans I've ever seen and the hardest working and the most ready to serve this country and go in harm's way are those who just came here. Senator, I'll never forget being at a ceremony in Baghdad last 4th of July where 160-some people who are green card holders got their citizenship, and they had been willing to serve in the military for an accelerated path to citizenship. That's how much they wanted to be part of this country. That was an exhilarating experience.
Senator John McCain, thank you very, very much for being
here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Do you want to introduce Obama now? Is it Obama now or after the break?